Welcome to the Hypothalamic Amenorrhea podcast. I'm Dani Sheriff, your host, certified fertility awareness practitioner, functional nutrition counselor, and founder of the HA Society, and of course, an HA recovery coach who has walked where you currently are walking. This is the place to come if you care about getting your period regularly. This podcast aims to educate, inform, and keep you motivated on your period and HA recovery track. So let's dive in. But last thing, nothing on the show should be taken as medical advice, so please seek the advice of your physician. Today's episode is brought to you by our Restore program. DIY your recovery with the help of this epic bundle that is the Restore program. 10 modules to take you through all the fundamental principles of recovery and help reset your belief system around food, exercise, and your body. A personalized food review to give you direct feedback on your food logs, as well as an entire backlog of past members' recorded food reviews to help you compare and spot similarities in what you're doing and hear our advice and thoughts around their food reviews. You'll also get the Period Recovery Game Planner, which is our game-changing PDF workbook that has helped so many women already, and it will help you design and walk through your own recovery program. It helps you find all of the recovery blind spots that you have going on and create an actionable, accessible plan for your recovery. And then lastly, the program comes with 1 entire year of access to the HA Society community, which includes a private podcast playlist, live group calls every week, and lessons and lectures by other practitioners. And this alone is a $300 product. But the Restore program right now is available for $187 US. So that's huge. There's tons of stuff in there to help you DIY your recovery with our help along the way. So get it now at thehasociety.com/restore. Hey everyone, welcome back to the HA podcast. We have returning guest Liv Wagner. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much for having me, Dani. I'm excited to be back here with you guys.
Yes. So for those of you who don't remember, I had you back on the show maybe early last year or something like that.
Yeah, I think that was the late winter. Yeah.
Roughly, yeah. So she's a registered dietitian, right? Nutritionist.
I am.
What else are you? Tell the people.
Yeah. I am a women's health dietitian. I specialize in women's hormone health, PCOS, fertility challenges, and period problems. And I am a dietitian, have been now for a little over 10 years, and I specialize in functional medicine therapies to optimize women's health and their healing journey. So basically, the way that I describe that to people, as opposed to looking at all of your symptoms in isolation, I'm trying to understand what some of those root threads are and bigger concepts that are driving those different symptoms. And that's really what we're going to dig into with this topic today as well.
Yeah. So I'm stoked to have you on here because you are almost you work with people with fertility problems from every direction, but that sounds broad, right? And it can be, but I bet you that at the core of your work with most of your clients, regardless of what their actual fertility challenge is this topic of blood sugar.
Wholeheartely. Absolutely. Yes. Well,
it solves your problems.
I would extend that to PCOS and missing periods too.
Yeah, all fertility, reproductive hormone related problems should be touching on blood sugar balance.
Yeah, it's a bedrock. It truly is a foundation that we cannot scaffold you toward your goals and your results without.
Yeah. We're super passionate about that here in what we do. So yeah, start to just have someone on to riff about it from their own, professional practice experience. I want to hear other practitioners' opinions on it. So just stoked to have a conversation with you about it. It's a buzzword, right? There are definitely a lot of people who are Yeah. It's this thing that sounds like a small rock issue, I think, to some people, but it is a big rock. So would you help me kind of explain blood sugar? What is it? Why is it important in this, particularly in this context?
Yeah. So I think that one other, like you said, it's kind of like a small stone, people perceive it as, or I often use the word like it's not as sexy as like
Oh
some of the
yeah.
other like strategies, but it's also not just about preventing diabetes. Like I think that that's what we really think about blood sugar balance with, or like keeping your blood sugar nice and stabilized, just like the other buzzword of diabetes, which is a huge, uh, it's a huge, it's a chronic health issue in our nation, in our world. But why blood sugar is relevant to women's hormone health and what it really is every time we eat a meal or a snack, we break down our food into tiny molecules of sugar, which we call glucose. So those are basically our body's like primary energy source is glucose. And we get that predominantly from carbohydrates, but our body also will break down other substrates in the body to make that glucose too. So when we eat, we are impacting our blood sugar levels. And when the way that we basically use those sugars is the hormone insulin takes them up from the bloodstream and brings them into the cell so that our mitochondria and our cells have energy to operate and our body can, support all of its daily functions and daily needs. So what the body does not love is when our blood sugar is erratic and it's perceiving a threat that it might not have energy or have energy availability when it needs it. And when we're talking about women's hormone health and hormone balance, one of the biggest themes that I describe to my clients is perceived safety. And if we're thinking about the fact that blood sugar imbalances can create threat or stress on the body, we're already starting to explore that kind of like chaotic cascade that could allow the body to not feel as safe. How are you tracking with that, Dani?
No, I'm tracking with it well. I'm actually writing down some questions because I'm like, yeah, and what about this? What about that? And like, how will it proceed? You know what I mean? And I'm immediately just like, okay, so one of the things that I'd say amenorrhea recovery, but any kind of like adrenal dysfunction support too, it's recommended to be like eating at a consistent interval of time to help with this issue. So how does like eating to balance blood sugar, and maybe I'm like skipping steps here with this question, but how does eating to balance blood sugar for resolving a hormonal problem differ to eating normally if you didn't have any issue? So, like something that people will struggle with is like, you want me to eat how regularly? You want me to be like this diligent with my macros? Like, is this a protocol? Is this like forever for me? How it can be used in some ways, it's used as a healing tool, but in many ways it is just an important way of eating.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on all of that?
My first thought that comes up about that, and then I'm going to explain how to support blood sugar balance for hormone health, but is that many of us are not educated on how to eat growing up. We get educated through diet culture. We get educated through what we observe with our family members, but we aren't really, correct me if I'm wrong or if you have seen this in any other way, but I wasn't really told how to eat to nourish my body or my health. I think that mostly there was education around things I should fear or things I should avoid, like even in health class, and then diet culture does like a slam dunk with that too. And so I think what you're describing is most women, you educating women on eating intervals and how they should be looking at eating right now. And it might feel foreign to them because their perception of eating has been formed around the outer wisdom from, again, their family experiences or diet culture, and then the inner wisdom of like what sounds good to them, don't have maybe the nourishing foundational outer wisdom of like what our body actually needs to support and thrive. So that's just kind of one thought that I have on that. And the way that I educate people about blood sugar balance for like hormone recovery versus your just daily needs is that they're not very different outside of your energy need potentially being higher in hormone recovery phase. So like the calories that you're taking in and the amount of food, we might need more of a surplus. And I know that you talk about this with your HA clients, but we need to, again, kind of like knock on the door of the hypothalamus and say like, hey, we want to restart that communication or that conversation with the ovaries. And to do that, sometimes the body needs like overwhelming messaging that it's getting enough food. Like we really are eating enough food and regularly eating enough food now. And so that surplus is important. But when it comes down to what I describe as the 3 T's for blood sugar balance, meal timing, meal type, and total amount, the biggest difference in the recovery is going to be the amount of food available to you. And sometimes the window of time in between meals will be shorter when you are healing, you know, whether it be from like an adrenal standpoint or hormone standpoint. Your body might not have as much resiliency to go longer without eating before your blood sugar gets too low. So that might be a little bit more robust, the timing of and the frequency of your meals and snacks, as well as the amount of food. But otherwise, I would say that those 3 T's should be pretty paramount for most women in their menstruating years.
Yeah. We shouldn't be messing with it in the way that we do, right? And I love what you mentioned earlier, like the diet culture and just the way we grow up help shape our beliefs around like how much we should be eating and how frequently. And that seems to be like the biggest issue is like, but I'm confused because I always thought that this is what I think it is for a lot of people. We've been told that we have so much access to food that we should fear that level of access to food.
Yeah.
And that, oh, you know, the Industrial Revolution happened and our food is everywhere and food is like generally bad for us. And like, it's generally so calorically dense, like especially in the Western countries, that if you just aim to eat as little food as possible, you'll probably end up where you should be.
Yes.
And this is false. Like it is actually quite easy to undereat when you have that perspective. And what we're talking about is like undoing that.
Yes. And I would add to that our modernized world provides us with additional challenges, you know, with exposures in our environment, toxins, hormones and pesticides, things like that. You know, we could argue like Paleolithically or like, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, like were they eating every 2 to 3 hours, like protein and fat and carb and, you know, different things like that? I think our world is just different today. And this is what we know people need.
Yeah, this is what we see works when we have someone with a problem and we implement it and it works. Yeah. But you know, we don't know. We do not really truly know what it looked like pre-industrial revolution. Like, you know, my dad would wake up in the morning as a child and like this was only in the late 50s. And his mum would cook him like lamb chops and toast and vegetables for breakfast, right? And then you come home for lunch and you have another cooked meal.
Yeah.
And then you come home for dinner, you have another cooked meal. No, I don't think these people were snacking all that much, but I don't think they were originally in like I think they were in less of a like exposure to toxins and xenoestrogens and endocrine disruptors world. You know, I do think that, but you know, they weren't pushing their bodies to the limits in the first place. And so they could just like eat 3 square meals a day. Like that's kind of the story I have in my head, is like, that's a possible reality. But when you're coming up out of, like a crazy nutrient deficiency and extreme stress and hunger and all that good stuff, you got to eat. You might have to eat more frequently.
Works. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I would argue with your father too, just less processed food in his environment. And too, like a lot of us have more processed food in our history and in our childhood, and like our bodies are still recovering from that, you know?
Yeah, and still like adapting and evolving towards this huge change in how we access food and what's in most of the food that we get that is like generally less nutritious.
Yeah. And I wonder if you hear this too, but I'll get the feedback from clients like, well, I always ate this way and I felt fine. And it's
Mm,
like these problems don't happen overnight. And I always tell people that hormone problems are not really hormone problems. They are imbalances that create like the hormone shift is the last domino to fall. There's like 15 other dominoes that have tipped before you started to see it happen with your hormones. And so, whether it's a missing period or just like anxiety or fatigue or like some of these other hormone related symptoms that we were talking about earlier, it's not going to happen overnight, and it's also not going to undo overnight. And I think that that's where some of the frustration can come with some of these like less sexy interventions, is that they require practice and behavioral change and lifestyle adaptation and the consistency to create the long-term results we're looking for.
mm, totally agree with that. Yeah, it's a lot more involved, and like I love what you said about how it's not really like, it's not the hormones that are broken.
Yeah.
They're a sign of something else, because we feel like, oh, just balancing my blood sugar just not, like, for example, is way too simple, right? Like, this is a hormonal problem. I probably need medication. You know, what you think me just like eating 3 square meals a day with a couple of snacks is going to like resolve my issue. Now, I'm telling you right now, for a lot of people, yes, like that is so true. It really, like, I know, I get it. It sounds too simple, but don't you think it almost sounds nonsensical to say, like, if you really think about it, to say something caused your hormones to just like flatline, right?
Yeah.
And the only way to fix it is to like directly try and like touch the hormones, like put the HRT, it just actually sounds like not particularly logical to me.
You're preaching to the choir. I mean, it's a huge pain point I have with our medical system. And I think it's a huge disservice to women of our generation and the women even much younger than us too, because there is not that awareness of any other solution outside of those pharmaceutical interventions. I don't, if anyone's listened to our last podcast, they'll know this, but I, even as a dietitian, went 10 years with a missing period, and none of my doctors talked to me about diet. None of my doctors talked to me about my relationship with food. It was all the higher level stuff. And I was on hormone replacement therapy for a year, and it's a huge disservice. And that's why I know you and I are like in this space, is to create some change here.
I know. And isn't it so hard? Okay, here's our first rabbit hole, like in a totally different direction. But don't you ever feel like, we create these services that we provide, or maybe we make a course or something like that, and there's this little part of you that's like, oh, all of the doctors are going to hate me, right? All of the doctors are going to be like, she didn't go to medical school, like Ashley and I have a complex about this, okay? Like, and maybe, I don't know, maybe as an actual registered dietitian, you may not fully experience this. I don't know, but we do. But it's like, yeah, but we're really seeing a lot of women that you're not helping. So
Yeah.
like, I know it's hard and it's uncomfortable, for us to go out and try and help these women with something that our culture falsely sees as complex and that only a doctor should be touching. But yeah, it makes me feel like uncomfortable sometimes. How do you feel about it?
Well, I can really level with you on the reality of the way, this would be another rabbit hole, but just how we in the United States, I need to say this thoughtfully, but
Yeah.
we really put doctors' word on a pedestal. And if I break my leg, I want to go to the ER and have a doctor set my leg. Absolutely.
100%.
But when we are speaking about prevention, and when we are speaking about how the body works synergistically as a whole, there is a huge lack of, even if education is there, there's a lack of space to properly be able to educate patients and guide them to that support. You know, even I don't know if the practitioners I was working with at the time had the awareness that with my missing period, I probably needed to eat more food and reduce my stress and balance my blood sugar and like all those good things. Even if they didn't have the time to educate me on all those things, I do think that it's a part of their service to plant that seed if they have that education. And if they don't have that education, there is a need for people like you and I to share that.
Yeah. And like, until they, like, if you could really truly say, no, Dani and Ashley and like Liv, we got this covered. We don't need, if you can really say it and you can prove it to me, great. But until I stop seeing women who are like, my doctor wouldn't listen to me, they just tried to put me on birth control, you know, I'm sorry, but I cannot in good conscience go away. You know what? Have you seen this amazing movie series called Stalked by My Doctor?
No, but I need to check it out. I'm ready.
Anyone who knows what I'm talking about has just gone, oh my gosh. It is ridiculous, but it is amazing. It's kind of like it's an obsession movie. So, you know, any kind of good where like someone's obsessed with someone kind of movie.
Yeah.
And I'm 4 movies into the 5 movie series. So this is current for me. And so he's a doctor and he's crazy. And he gets infatuated with certain patients, and then he basically, if they won't love him, then he's going to kidnap them. So anyways, that's the premise of the movie. But in it, because he's a doctor, you know, he's in a very strong position, you know, he's in a very powerful position. And there's just this scene I was watching it, and I was like, this is it in a nutshell from this movie. He's like, he's pretending, he's stolen the identity of another doctor, and he's pretending to be this doctor who's actually a sleep doctor. And his patient is a sleepwalker, and she's highly suggestible when she sleeps, when she sleepwalks. And so he is like calling her and being like, hey, I just wanted to check in on how you're doing. She's like, I'm doing all right. And he's like, I wanted to just suggest a strong sleep sedative for you, just to help you sleep. She never mentioned it. Like, she's never asked for this. And she just goes, oh, okay, well, if you say so, doc, and goes and gets the sleep sedative.
Yeah.
Anyway, he breaks into her house and it's the whole thing. But the actual point here is, I was like, yeah, the level of obedience to what the doctor said, I was like, it was just so like well shown in this movie. And I think that what I tried to, like, my perspective, because your perspective was if they have this information, they should be planting this seed before they go into like the prescription route. And Ashley and I try to just have so much compassion for, like, it's just not what they're trained to do. They are just trained to prescribe. A lot of them. Many of us have had amazing doctors who did point us in this direction. I had a doctor give me a hug and prescribe me a vacation one time. So there are people who know what they're doing.
Yes.
But they're just like, look, this lady has come to me with a problem, and I think what she wants from me is a medical solution.
Yeah.
They did not ask, hey, do you want a holistic solution? Hey, do you want to know and they didn't do a class on it, you know? So we have a mixture of, this is what they think we want, and they have all of the power, and we will listen to them no matter what. And so we are blindly guided down a path, and no one has any idea that there's another option.
Yeah.
And that's like my perspective. That's my very long-winded story and perspective on the problem. The problem.
It's really sad. And that's why we both do what we do. And I was going to say too, that through what motivates, I think, a lot of the, obedience, as you said, too, is fear. And you and I and other women like us want to empower other women in the awareness and the ways that they can partner with their body to create these changes, and so that they can start to have the ability to make less choices from fear and from, like a place of partnership and like understanding.
A huge thank you to Tempdrop for sponsoring this podcast. Tempdrop is a fertility awareness monitoring tool that I love. It's a wearable device which you can use instead of taking your temperature manually with a thermometer each morning. As you may know, we recommend the fertility awareness method both as you're going through recovery and 100,000% after you have gone through recovery as you move forward for the rest of your reproductive years. Tempdrop gives you everything you need to effortlessly track your fertility. You wear the Tempdrop sensor while you sleep for accurate basal body temperature readings without the stress of early morning wake-ups. I personally love and need this because with a toddler, my wake-up times are all over the place, and the occasional sleep disruptions are making the use of an oral thermometer increasingly more difficult. Tempdrop's accompanying charting app enables you to track an array of symptoms alongside your BBT, including cervical mucus and OPKs, and even gives you sleep insights. Combined, these fertility signs all in one place to identify your fertile window, confirm ovulation, plan for your period, or identify pregnancy. Whether you are trying to conceive or avoiding pregnancy, or you want to chart your fertility for health reasons like HA recovery to see where you're at in the process, Tempdrop makes fertility awareness accessible to all women, even if you don't have regular cycles or sleeping patterns. Track your ovulation in real time with Tempdrop. Get 10% off your order when you go to tempdrop.thehasociety.com and use the code HASociety at checkout. Please support this show by using our link and our discount code. Get your Tempdrop at the time of this recording and send us a screenshot of your purchase either via Instagram, or you can email us, Dani@thehasociety.com, having used our discount code HASociety. So it has to be in the screenshot to get your 10% off. When you send that to us, we will send you free access to our fertility awareness method for HA course. Again, that's tempdrop.thehasociety.com and use HA Society at the checkout to also get access to our course that we usually sell. And one more thing to sweeten the pot is that you can put this 10% code on top of any other pre-existing sales they're doing. So I know that they're doing regularly 15% off and 20% off sales. And so if you go specifically to tempdrop.thehasociety.com, it will apply an additional 10% off to whatever sale is going on. So you can't lose. You get the Tempdrop, you get probably multiple discounts, and you get our FAM course. So definitely check it out. And again, support our sponsors so that we can keep giving you this show for free. Thanks. You guys, we have partnered up with the incredible skincare app Lovely. So check this out. My particular skin issues, if you will, are that I have huge pores and I get fluid kind of build up in my face, and I've never really known how to process it out of my face or that there was anything I could do about it at all. I thought it was just bloating, and I can tell you that this is something that is really common in the HA Society, and well, we see in clients as well all of the time, and that's why I wanted to share this with you. The Lovely app helped me develop a custom face yoga and massage plan to tackle these fluid buildup issues and my like enlarged pore issues. And I can't actually believe how well it worked. So when we finally found Lovely, an all-in-one holistic self-care app with face yoga being at its core, we jumped on the opportunity to partner up with them. In fact, it was a recovered HAer, so one of you who listened to the show, who reached out representing the brand, which means they represent our amazing listeners as well. So I thought that this is perfect. Now let me tell you about Lovely. Lovely, spelled Luvly, lets you get personalized face yoga and skincare programs tailored to your needs and goals. They help you learn facial massages and gua sha massages to help reduce tension, promote blood flow, and boost collagen production. They let you explore anti-stress tools such as breathing and mindfulness exercises to improve your mental health and well-being. So if you're not already using a mental health app, this is an all-in-one for you. And they let you enjoy personalized meal ideas for healthy and glowing skin based on your dietary preferences. That's awesome. When I tried out Lovely for the first time, I was blown away. I felt like I was doing a full-on skin routine that involved 0 products being used on my face other than my favorite moisturizer. I saw a difference in my skin tone and even the elasticity in my face. I had dealt with the drainage and blotchiness issues completely, and I had no idea that I could even deal with that. I had this whole story about my skin, and I just realized in the end that all I needed to do was get on top of a face yoga routine. So the reason I love this app for you is because it's a way for you to create a routine in your life and still have a quote unquote workout that is actually serving you in any season of your life. So if you're still learning how to relax after a long day with a different approach to your previous stress relief strategies, you know who you are. There's nothing quite like winding down with a relaxing evening routine. And what better way to look after yourself than with Lovely's face yoga and mindful skincare routine? It's my current mommy alone time situation. So before you rush to try this app, here's something really cool. You don't just log in and start doing workouts for your face. They have created a quick quiz just for listeners of the HA podcast that will build a specific plan just for you based on your specific skin challenges and goals. So this is the best part. When you do the quiz, it doesn't take very long. You just answer a bunch of questions about your skin and statements you believe are true about your skin, and it will generate a plan for you with a code that you can then apply to the app that will not only load it into the app for you, but also provide 50% off of your membership. So this is just for the listeners of the HA podcast. To find the quiz, go to lovely.thehasociety.com. This customized plan feature has made my specific skin goals improve so much, so the quiz is non-negotiable. And remember, do the quiz anyways if you want the 50% off of the plan and the whole app. It's worth it. It is key to your skin success. So unleash your inner beauty and nurture your beauty and confidence from within, y'all. Take a moment for your me time and enjoy your beauty journey during a time where your body composition goals are not able to be your number one baby. So take the quiz, get the discount, go to lovely, lovely.thehasociety.com. That's lovely.thehasociety.com. Totally. And I'm sure we all hope that the future of the medical system looks different. I have a lot of hope that there is a lot more either cross collaboration or holistic training, but it's going to be a while.
I mean, I was even reminded the other day of it takes 17 years for research, which is so hard to conduct and very expensive, but to be translated into, standardized recommendations.
Yeah. It's like the curriculum at medical school.
Yeah, I don't have the time to wait for that to happen. I know what's working and I know what, is published in the literature and also what makes sense from a biochemical mechanistic standpoint. And it's we need to help people move the needle, right?
Totally. Yeah. And results is what drives market demand, which is what drives change.
Yeah.
So yeah, someone's got to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been really encouraging to see. I feel like if there really was one thing that, in the nutrition space where there's so much disagreement, if there really was one thing that most of us could get behind, especially in the hormone slash nutrition space, it would be this topic, right? Of like eating to balance blood sugar. So, it does have a lot to do with like our body's ability to like tolerate stress and things like that. Um, how would you describe, what is actually happening under the hood when we're in like a blood regulated state? Like, why is this helping my fertility chances?
Yeah. So the way that I describe it to people is that we have, when we have healthy blood sugar levels, this can help keep our cortisol in better check, which can help keep or when we have healthy blood sugar levels, this can help keep both our cortisol and our insulin in check. And that this is going to help to promote our sex hormone production. And so when we have dysregulation in our blood sugar, we have elevations in cortisol, when we have elevations in our insulin, we are going to have prioritization of kind of like, I'm getting this visual of like, if those are like the like malbehaved kids in class, like the teacher is like all over those kids, like
Squeaky wheel gets the oil. Yeah.
like trying to like manage them, and then it's like, okay, no time for the sex hormones, like no energy, no extra support for the sex hormones. And so it's the way that when I'm talking about balancing sex hormones with clients, it's that we have to address blood sugar balance and cortisol balance and thyroid hormone health before we can touch the sex hormones. It goes in that kind of like continuum. And so that's just another visual for women to see and understand that, like, oh, if you've been told you have hypothyroidism, or if you're missing your period, or if you have this stuff going on, it's like, we have to address stress and blood sugar balance well before we're going to make an impact on those two other categories.
Mm. Yeah. You mentioned hypothyroid actually, which just triggered me to also want to ask your thoughts on that. Like, what results do you see, or what are the things, the needles that you have to move, or the levers that you tend to pull with women when you see that they have like low overall hormones and they have hypothyroidism? Yeah, like what's your approach with her?
Well, no surprise, blood sugar balance. What we really want to think about here is mineral balance too. So our minerals very directly impact our insulin sensitivity. And so, minerals that I'm regularly talking about with women without doing like additional assessment and testing are you getting enough sodium? Are you getting enough potassium? And are you getting enough magnesium? And the three of those are really going to support your stress response and your blood sugar balance. But then when it comes to our thyroid health, so again, if we don't have blood sugar balance and stress under control, we're going to have, or like a healthy stress response available, we're going to have strain on our thyroid hormones. And then there are particular nutrients of concern that influence thyroid health, like selenium, iodine, zinc. We need amino acids for protein. So this kind of all then reroutes back to blood sugar balance, because if we're eating in a way that's providing us with, again, adequate nutrition, we're getting enough calories and food for our body to feel metabolically safe. Our thyroid is like this thermostat for our body. And if we don't have enough calories coming in, it's going to slow down that thermostat because it's trying to conserve energy. It's worried that it's not going to have enough resources for, again, your brain and your heart to beat and your to breathe. Like that is its top priority. It's like, you can have a baby some other time. We have to keep these other things working. And although hormone health, sex hormone health is not just about reproduction, the body does, there are so many more benefits to it outside of just getting pregnant and having a period. But when the body is thinking of hierarchy of needs, your reproductive hormones are going to take a back burner to those other elements. So we do really have to think about blood sugar balance, stress, and then having those minerals available to support thyroid function too. And I really pay a lot of attention to gut health as well, because you have to be able to absorb your nutrients well. And if you have inflammation or autoimmunity circulating as a result of those gut imbalances, that can also put stress on thyroid communication.
Yeah, you said, okay, two things that I want to attach to this.
Yeah.
First of all, yes, everyone should be taking your electrolytes, guys. And it's so interesting how like, oh, you're drinking it right now. Yeah, it's cool that there are definitely things that we can implement for people without lab testing. Like, I just know by the symptoms you're telling me, by the fact you're on this call, you should probably drink some electrolytes, have your adrenal cocktail. You also mentioned protein, and I was just like, oh, yes, okay. You at least mentioned amino
I did.
acids.
Yeah, I said
Okay,
protein and amino acids. Yeah.
protein and amino acids. Okay, I'm so curious. We think sometimes it's all we need to do. Like, so maybe even blood sugar balance is like almost right there, but it's like, homegirl, you do not eat any protein.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I just don't like it. I just don't like protein, or they just they eat it but not very much. And what are your thoughts on protein and reproductive hormones?
I mean, it's so important, and you can't really have well-balanced blood sugar. Let me rephrase this. I am of the belief, based on what I see in my practice and how I work with women and the research that I have done, is that when you are in a space where you are trying to heal from a place of dysregulation, it is nearly impossible without high quality, at least partially based animal proteins in your routine.
Yeah, and it's hard to say that it's like when someone's not ready for that, it's really hard to like drop that bomb. This is again, like, I just keep talking about this morality versus reality paradigm we have going on, where like, but I really just don't like protein. I really like, it just feels weird. It feels totally counterintuitive to certain people based on how they grew up, the beliefs around it. I don't believe it's good economically. I don't believe it's good for the environment. I don't believe it's moral, yada, yada. These are all our moral values that we're putting onto like the value of animal protein. And it's really stressful because sometimes I think if I had to say what is the hardest thing to get some people to implement that is actually going to make a difference for them, it would be that. And I have seen women with a cycle, but they're not getting pregnant, make that one change. And it's just like,
well, there are so many vitamins,
minerals,
and proteins too. And I actually am doing a little bit more. I'm always learning, but I really wanted to invest in some different, this is a mini rabbit hole. I really wanted to invest in some different continuing education this year. And so I'm actually going in, can't remember where you're based out of, but I'm going to Austin, Texas.
I'm in Austin.
I thought you were. Going to Austin next month for the What Good Shall We Do conference. So it's the 4th of May.
In Fredericksburg. I was so close to there. I know Kaylee McDevitt will be there. Yes, you're going to see them. Oh, now I need to go. Damn it.
Come on with me, please. But anyways, I think that there is a lot that can be said about investing in what kind of animal protein, where the source of animal protein, where it is coming from, and choosing, different like, what is the word that I'm seeking for, but like purveyors that are using really quality practices and are also using that regenerative agriculture practices to support the land and the ecosystem and the economy in that way. And so there is a lot to be said about that, but from a clinical and like biochemical standpoint for healing and for hormone health, I think there is so much tremendous benefit from eating animal proteins, and also just keeping consistent protein in your routine to support that blood sugar balance. Protein is very anchoring for our blood sugar because carbohydrate is that big driver of the blood glucose response, and protein and fat and fiber slow down the digestion of it. So when I'm talking to clients about the 3 T's for blood sugar stability, which are timing, type, and total amount, we are really like, if, again, you're like, blood sugar balance is big, protein's really big. When I'm talking about building that balanced plate, I feel like what I am having to really zoom in on with most of my clients is making sure that they are getting that adequate protein at their meal times, because we grossly underestimate our needs on a daily basis, especially in healing. Our body requires amino acids. They are the building blocks of our cells. And when we're healing and we're trying to regenerate, we require so much of this. And I know you have been through pregnancy and you've delivered. And like, I talk about this a lot too in postpartum, like, do not skimp on your protein because your body has so much healing to do. And then it needs more to maintain, you know? And the same thing goes with calories. You know, we need calories, we need protein to like get your body back to this, to allow for this regrowth. And then also to promote the stability and the safety for that continued maintenance.
Yeah, this is so satisfying. Yes. Like, I want to know that other people are seeing this exact same thing. And it's like, you know, it's again one of those things that makes sometimes I feel uncomfortable because I'm like, look, you're not going to like this. But I think you're probably expecting like a long list of supplements. You may be expecting that I want to run this test and that test, but I'm looking at your food log. I'm looking at your symptoms. And I reckon we just try this, you know, and they're like, what? That's it. You know, I doubt it. Again, just like the blood sugar thing, it sounds small.
Yeah.
But it is foundational and it is big and it will make a difference.
Yeah.
And it for many of us, it could be the difference. And if, you know, if this is true, like what you're saying, we need to be, as a market, demanding more from our producers, you know, of protein, our purveyors. Yeah, here in Austin, I'm a big fan of, we have something called Austin Farmhouse Delivery and other markets that, have lots of meat providers. And my husband and I have recently bought a whole cow. We've bought a whole pig. And we're trying to find a way to get some chickens. But it's like, yes, it's a tough spot to be in because the industry is not great, but there are people trying to make a change. It is so important for our health. It is so important for our fertility. And I just think, like, as a crew, you know, we need to yell loudly about this.
I just want to level with the listeners here too. I did not eat animal-based protein outside of eggs until I was 25. Like, I grew up with a strong aversion to meat. I didn't like it as a kid. And as soon as I knew that it was okay to not eat meat and call yourself a vegetarian, like in middle school, I was like, cool, like done. I don't have to eat it, whatever. And then it became an orthorexic kind of tendency when I, my college years and even graduate school years, where I kind of like hung my hat and felt like proud of like, oh, I don't have to eat meat. I don't eat meat, or I have enough, like, I don't know why this word is coming up, but like, God forbid, like willpower, like I was disciplined enough, you know? And it wasn't until I was in the lows of my healing journey and someone said to me, like, you need to eat good quality animal proteins and beef, and like every meal have something there. And it was a little traumatic at first to shift. And I'm so grateful to it. I mean, it was just one of the big pillars in my transformation, but I feel very, very confident that it was a huge needle mover. And I mean, I see it time and time again with clients, but I wanted to level with, like, I've been on that other side too, where there wasn't as much morality, I suppose, as far as maybe like animal welfare or things like that. It was more, I had a personal dilemma with it, in a sense, like a personal, like I didn't like the idea of eating it. It felt icky to me. It felt all these things. And I just want to, if anyone needs to hear this, like I was able to get to the other side of that, and it's been really supportive.
Yeah. Do you have you noticed many correlations yourself in the people who dislike just like it's hard for them to eat more protein because they're not interested, right? Like it sounds hard to do. Do you see a correlation with it's just the fact that they haven't been eating it for so long that now they kind of need to move into a period of discomfort to get through to like reignite that sort of more natural desire to eat meat? Like what are your thoughts on like I don't like meat?
Yeah, no, I mean, I honestly had to be really creative about ways to, I agree with you. First, I agree with you. I think your body has to become available to receiving that kind of nourishment again. And your mind has to be able to get on board with it. And I think there's like a chemical,
It's adapted to its restriction, which is so smart.
Yeah. That's my impression. I haven't done a ton of research on that, but I have found that it's really helpful to just get creative with how you can enjoy this process a little bit more. And, maybe it's not a 0 to 60 kind of experience where you're like not eating meat, eating a filet with a potato, like maybe we are grinding up or like doing like a ground beef or that ends. I love the ancestral beef blend and bison blend from Force of Nature, giving you extra bang for your buck. And we're putting that in something like a quesadilla, or we're doing tacos with it, where like you're getting crunch, you're getting maybe extra veggies and toppings, and maybe you have like a slaw or something on the side where the meat feels like, to at least start, it's not the main, there's all the other things you're looking forward to on the plate that are going along with it and are kind of like disguising it.
Yeah.
I ate a lot of meatballs when I first started because there was something from a texture standpoint that felt better about, having like an almond flour or like I was gluten-free at the time. So like a gluten-free breadcrumb, like in the meat to kind of like soften it. And, just asking yourself how you could make it a little bit more fun. I find that like pairing it with a carb, whether like it's the quesadilla or like a pasta or something. And we're always talking about having quality carbohydrates at your meals too, to support healthy hormones. That's part of blood sugar stability as well. But it's, if it's feeling scary in your brain, what could shift to make it feel a little less scary and a little bit more comfortable? And to your point, this is going to be an experience of discomfort as a whole, but how can we make it just a little bit more like acceptable?
Yeah, totally. That's totally the word. You're like, this just feels unacceptable. Yeah, it's a tough one. Part of what I love is relating to my clients and being like, oh, been there, I get it. So I did. That's a tough one though for me. I've always been super meat driven from the immediate of puberty. I was like attracted to just like raw meat at the butcher. And in my HA phases, where what kind of happened with me was I only ate lean meat.
Yeah.
Which is also very common. So some of the things I'll do is like look for that pattern with women, be like, because see, you're eating meat, but we just got like some chicken breast and like some 90% ground beef. So what do you reckon about like a ribeye? Just like changing it up a bit.
And a little bit more of that, like, less muscle tissue, more like, that's why I love the organ meat blends, but like bringing that collagenous meat into the picture, stews and
everything you were told is bad or like too decadent,
I just made real this literally like the mineral deficiencies that like trashed my basically trashed my hormones. And it's all the stuff that we thought was healthy, like eating low carb, eating low salt, avoiding bananas because they're too high in sugar, only eating flesh meats, not eating meat at all. Like, it's
totally. Like, don't even get me started on how we pay more money to eat less food.
Yes.
Right. Like, what do we do? What do you mean? Like, has anyone noticed that like you're paying more money for like the 0-calorie version of a food? What is happening? how did we get here? This makes zero sense. There's a ton of relearning and reintroducing of just like regular foods, like really going back to basics, going back to not even ancient wisdom, just like pre-industrial revolution or
Yeah.
something like that.
Like the first thing that came to my mind is like the entire cheese industry with like reduced fat cheese, or like, you know, we've done so much to like low cal out cheese, and it's like we need that fat. We need to eat just like we need to eat the whole good cheese, you know?
Because we're like obsessed with being
And
thin.
dairy, yeah.
This is so bizarre. Yeah, it's actually really bizarre when you get over to where we're standing and look at it from our perspective. You're just like, this is entirely upside down. This is so upside down, and I feel so overwhelmed sometimes by the work that needs to be done.
Something that can really impact your blood sugar balance too is when you are eating. And I'm sure you see this with your clients, but like, they're like, oh, I'm eating so much food, and they're eating, you know, 2 eggs and a piece of toast, and then like,
Yeah.
salad and like maybe a spread of non-fat Greek yogurt or something. And it's like, okay, this meal is under like 315 calories. And like, that is not nutrient dense enough. You know, can we do 3 eggs? Can we do like a half or a full avocado? Can we like, how can we make this more? So it's not nutrient dense. And they're also finding maybe that they're having cravings mid-morning, or they are looking for, they're having cravings, or they're getting headaches, or they're not able to like make it, you know, 3 to 4 hours without eating. And they are not understanding that they're just genuinely not eating enough, and also not eating enough satisfying foods at that meal time to keep their blood sugar nice and stabilized. So when I say satisfying, it's like full fat and like substantial foods, not the like low calorie, low fat versions of stuff.
Yeah. Just, it's all about audits. Like, isn't it? It's so true. We'll get, you know, a listener in front of us.
Yeah.
And the first thing we do is just like audit, you know, what are those things that you're doing that are actually just dieting?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that's holding your fertility back.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it's just what angle is dieting coming in here and disrupting the natural process of your body.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, this has been great. I knew we would be able to just riff out a great conversation. And my 2 favorite topics, blood sugar and protein, have been addressed. So I'm super stoked. Before we head, anything you would like to say to our listeners, anywhere you might like to point them so they can kind of learn more about you, or yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you can find me at Liv Nourished Nutrition. It's LIV on Instagram. My website is also livnourishednutrition.com. I have a couple fun things coming up. This May, I will be launching my No Birth Control Now Watch spring cohort. So, you know, if you are someone who, we did a fall cohort, now there's a spring cohort.
Okay.
So, you know, if you are someone who is looking for symptom relief for their hormone challenges, and they've only been given the pill as an option, and they're looking for alternatives, this is a great offer for you. And also for an individual who is wanting to conceive post-birth control and looking for that runway of support, this again would be like a fantastic fit. As far as a freebie, I have my healthy hormone audit in action, and this is a space for you to, you know, we talked a lot about different things related to blood sugar balance and protein needs and stress today. This is a list of some of my top foundational activations for you to kind of reflect on your symptoms and look at these actions and see ones that maybe you are really killing it and doing a great job with, or potentially overlooking. And then I give you a pathway to start to make some goals about implementing those into your routine. So I can give Dani that link for the waitlist action program, and it has a little button to get the audit if they want that, the audit in action, the freebie.
Yeah, I love that. I love anything that's just like, check for blind spots here, you know, and try this, you know, before getting intense about like IVF. Just like review this, give it a shot, It's such a low hanging fruit. So that sounds like an awesome freebie. It's like such a cool workshop. No birth control. Now what?
And no birth control, now what? So it's
So
kind
good.
of a pathway to predictable cycles, painless periods, and prep for healthy conception.
So good. Okay. Yeah, we'll put the link to that in the show notes. Or people can go to, what's your website address? Just like out loud.
Liv, L-I-V, nourishednutrition.com.
Got it. Like playing with your name there. I like that. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Liv. And I hope you all enjoyed this episode so much. And we will see you guys next week for another one.
Bye, guys.
This episode is brought to you by Grassland Nutrition beef liver capsules. Did you know that in terms of nutrient density, beef liver actually blows vegetables and fruits out of the water? If you're a client of mine, you have already been instructed to eat beef liver either fresh or in capsule form. I recommend it for anyone and everyone who is, of course, dealing with amenorrhea and fertility challenges out there, but I may even recommend it for just everyone in general. Get your husbands on it, get your partners on it. If you have a history of HA and add on top of that maybe a history of the pill, maybe you've been pregnant before, through treatments or other, like your body's been through anything, you're absolutely 100% dealing with a nutrient deficiency of some kind. And while it's true that testing is going to be the best way to understand those exact deficiencies, eating nutrient-dense, real food is going to be one of the most important next steps that you take with or without testing. So I've been using and recommending Grassland Nutrition beef liver capsules for years now. And the capsule form makes it so easy to get your liver in every day. And I appreciate the transparency of this product in particular above others. So in case you're wondering, it's completely natural. This is freeze-dried beef liver in capsules. It's organic, it's made from Australian beef, and my favorite of their products is the liver with kelp because of the iodine from the kelp, which is important for overall thyroid function, which is often low in women with underperforming hormones. So rather than eat seaweed snacks every day, I get to take this beef liver with the kelp for my iodine. So if you're recovering or working on a fertility journey right now, do not skimp the nutrient-rich source of beef liver. Get 10% off your order with the HA Society and support your favorite podcast along the way. They ship to most countries, so you should be covered. Just go to grasslandnutrition.net and use HA Society, just HA Society, at the checkout for the 10% off. That's grasslandnutrition.net with the code HA Society. Thank you so much for listening today, guys. Please subscribe to the podcast, and if you could head to iTunes specifically and leave a rating or review, that would help so much because it makes it easier for other people with HA who are Googling around to find the podcast really easily. So if you do that, you're doing a service to all of the women